It's time for Egg Bites, and today's episode is definitely a perfect case of I was going to make this anyway, and I figured I might as well make content out of it. So I'm just going to burn through all of my prep and mise en place. Basically, I'm just getting all of the different components that are going to go into the various types of egg bites that I'm making separated out and into the format that I'm going to be cooking them in. Basically, everything is going to be a small dice, and I'm going to break up the cheese to be the right size, and et cetera, et cetera. Some of the bell peppers are going to be strips because I thought it would be nice to have a little variety. But yeah, it's all going to get small diced, and then we're going to cook it. Once we get to the actual cooking part, I'll talk you through what we're doing. But for now, let's just rip through this in like 10x speed. One of the things I really love about egg bites is that they are, of course, like many things I make, extremely, extremely versatile. I'm making 4 different varieties with overlapping sets of fillings. I have a friend who kind of inspired this episode who always makes the same thing because that's just what she likes. Just, whatever you like in breakfast, throw it in. The trick is you want to cook everything that's going to go into the eggs before you put it in the eggs because you don't want any extra moisture to mess up your whole plan. So we're going to get things started. We're going to go ahead and get our bacon into the pan to render with a little bit of water, and that's just going to kind of help it, start getting the heat going and spread the heat more evenly to render the fat out of it. And then once the water cooks off, the bacon will, of course, fry in its own fat. Once the oil in the other pan is hot, we're going to go ahead and add our small diced red bell peppers, and we're just going to salt and pepper these and cook them until they start to develop some nice color. Just a quick saute. And once we've cooked off most of the moisture and gotten some nice color on those, we're going to go ahead and pull them out. While we cook them, though, we want to keep them kind of in a single layer and stir them around a little bit just so they don't stick. And the same thing with our bacon. We want to make sure that doesn't stick to the pan as we go. The bacon's going to take probably 20 minutes or so because I'm doing it over low heat. But our bell peppers are ready to go, so now it's time to pull them out and move on to our next step. We're going to use the same pan over and over again for a lot of things because everything's going into the same end product, and I'm being lazy. Like I said, this is me turning meal prep into content again, which I always love doing. I think it's really instructive to kind of show that process. It's likely that I am unconsciously doing little tricks that I'm not noticing, but I will try to point them out when they come up. So we've got our red bell pepper strips in. Mind the flames. It's just flaring up because I'm aerosolizing grease and that's coming into contact with the flame. It's no big deal. Don't freak out if it happens. Again, got a little bit of color on it, so now we're ready to go. We're going to get in with our Spanish style chorizo, get that over like low heat, spread it out into one layer, add a little bit of water. That'll kind of pick up the fond that's in the pan, which is just some caramelized sugars from the red bell peppers. So we're going to pick those up and kind of, pick those up, render out the fat in the chorizo, and fry up the chorizo just like we're frying up our bacon, which is now done. So we're going to get that out and onto a paper towel. It's like a 3-stack of paper towel to drain. We're going to reserve the fat. We're going to leave a little bit in the pan that we're going to use for the spinach. The rest we're going to set aside, and we're going to use that when we caramelize the onions. The spinach, again, is just getting some salt and pepper, and it's going to cook really quick. I cut this because I didn't want to waste too much of your time, but getting the spinach from raw to finished sautéing took, I think, in total about 5 minutes. You can see it wilts down super fast, and that whole big handful of spinach is going to turn into like a much, much, much smaller pile of spinach. Give it like 2 seconds here. Yep, that's what we got. It's it's still all the most of the spinach, but it's just much less of the water. So onions are going in. They're going to take a little while. We're going to just kind of keep track of them as we work on some other stuff. But other than that, once the onions are done, we're going to be ready to go. The chorizo has gotten some crisp and some browning on it. So I think it's just about time to get some things set up. And then we're going to go ahead and build our egg bites.
So while I'm cracking these eggs, I figured I would talk a little bit about egg bites, I'm sure I've talked about it a bit in the voiceover, but egg bites are great. Shout out to my friend Jolly, at Jolly Does Art, or twitch.tv/Jolly Does Art, one or the other, both. I think there's underscores in there. I'll have a link in the description. Anyway, she loves them. She kind of has a whole thing about them. I'm cracking these into a strainer just in case I drop some shell, but you don't have to. Anyway, yeah, so I've been meaning to eat breakfast more often, and I'm really bad at waking up and having the motivation to cook in the morning, so I figured I'd make a bunch of egg bites to solve that problem for me. So now I have something that I can cook, pop in the freezer, and then microwave in the morning, and have something reasonably healthy to eat before work. So this is a dozen eggs. I have another dozen eggs. I think I have enough eggs and stuff to do like somewhere between 18 and 20 egg bites. My pan only has a dozen, and I will honestly probably only make a dozen for y'all. But I'm expecting them to take about an egg and a half each. I didn't test this recipe because I'm arrogant and figured that I could make egg bites without a recipe. I will have a recipe in the description for you because nobody should be as foolish as I am. But as I'm sure I've already mentioned in the voiceover, egg bites are one of those things that are only wrong if you like overcook them or something. But like flavor-wise, you just put whatever you like in them. You know, you've got a lot of options. So we've got a dozen eggs in our bowl. My large glass bowl is dirty from a different project. Where is my whisk? BRB. Oh, there it is. So I'm just breaking up the yolks, and then I'm just going to whisk this until it's all the same kind of light yellow. We're not looking to get to whisk air into these, although we will whisk air into them. We're just looking to get rid of any streaks of yellow or white, yolk or white. That looks pretty good. Stir my caramelizing onions. If any recipe ever tells you to caramelize onions and then tells you it's going to take 15 minutes, it's lying to you. Caramelizing onions takes 25 to 30 minutes, even more if you're doing a lot of them. Anyway, so normally I don't salt eggs before I cook them, but egg bites are essentially tiny frittatas, so this is our one chance to season them. All right, and then I'm going to get the eggs into a container that's easy to pour from. Make sure we get everything. There we go. All right, so the onions are just about done caramelizing. So I think the next shot is going to be me building the egg bites. Let's get to that.
And for that, we're going to use some good old-fashioned Pam sprayed into a muffin tin. We're just going to liberally lube each of our muffin cups. And then on the far right, we're going to do our American-style breakfast, which is bacon, cheddar, and some of the onions that we caramelized in bacon grease. In the next column, we're going to do kind of a Spanish style, with our Spanish style chorizo, some more of the cheddar cheese, and we're going to finish that one off with some red bell peppers. I was going to use like serranos or jalapenos, but I figured I would keep it not that spicy. This is breakfast after all. What am I kidding? Anyway, so our next one is going to be the strips of red bell pepper. We're just going to kind of lay those into the container. We want to make sure things aren't going to sink, so that's why we're kind of putting the bigger stuff on the bottom. And then this we're going to add our spinach, our sauteed spinach, and then our crumbled feta cheese. And that's going to finish off that one. And then our last one is going to be our diced up ham, which I could have caramelized and didn't think about until too late. Some of the onion. And then that one, we're going to finish off with more of our red bell pepper strips. And that's all of the ingredients except for the eggs. So we're going to pour egg into our cups. We're going to go just a little bit shy. I'm stopping about a little less than a 1/4 inch from the top. So I know I said earlier I was expecting them to take an egg and a half. These actually ended up taking almost exactly 1 egg. So once they're all filled up, just, you want to leave a little bit of space. You'll see they're going to puff up. But other than that, we're good to go. Pop them in the oven. And I've got my oven at 300 degrees. And we're just going to leave them in there. I'm going to check them in 15 minutes. They were doing pretty well. You can see, especially that front right one has really puffed up. That's the moisture in the eggs. So you're looking for the skewer to come out basically clean. It's not ready yet, so we're going to give it another few minutes. We're going to check them. This is just shy of 25 minutes. We'll give that a check. It's dry on the end, so we're good.
While those cool off, I'm going to make a quick frittata for dinner. So, baking sheet or baking dish, whatever. Set that aside for a sec. This is probably going to take 6 eggs, so I'm going to do 6. If I need more, I can do more. And unsurprisingly, I'm just going to take all of the leftovers and we'll get that into one layer, and then I'm just going to add egg until it's covered. Ooh, season the eggs. Perfection. Awesome. I'm going to wash my hands and then throw that in the oven. The other ones took 25 minutes on 300. They're a little bit deeper. This is probably going to take about 15, so I'll check it after like 7 and then not be surprised if it ends up taking 20. Let's clean up the table, and then we will taste the other ones.
You can see I did a very good job of lubricating my pan because these are spinning freely. If not, running the spatula around the edge or a thin knife around the edge should break loose any egg that happens to have stuck to your pan.
They're not quite cooled down, but they were cold enough to come out of the pan, so let's give them a taste. I'm going to start with the kind of American one, the bacon, cheddar, and onions. Yeah, they're still pretty hot. Yeah, that's a delicious egg breakfast. Let me cut these instead of just biting into them. All right, so this is the Spanish style one with the chorizo and the bell pepper and the cheddar. We did a pretty good job. Things didn't sink too much. So let's try this one. It's kind of a more interesting, more refined version of this. All right, and then the feta, spinach, and peppers. Let's cut into that one. Ooh, beautiful cross section. Let's give it a taste. Super creamy, really delicious. And then this is the ham, onion, and bell pepper. Again, pretty nice cross section. Well, that's a good combo. Yeah. I think this one is definitely my favorite, but boy, oh boy, these are delicious, and I'm glad I've got them for breakfasts for a few days. I'm going to let these actually get to room temperature, and then I'm going to throw them in Ziploc bags separated by what they are. And then in the morning, I'm just going to pop them in the microwave for like a minute and a half. You know, give or take your microwave's power. Just to, you know, get them defrosted and warmed back up. Munch it on the way into work. Easy peasy. Ready to go. They're probably good in the freezer for a week and a half, 2 weeks. If you wanted to keep them in the fridge, they'd probably be good for like 3 or 4 days. So if you're going to go through a lot of them, like if you got a family of 4 and you make a dozen, you can keep them in the fridge. But it's just me, so I'm going to pop them in the freezer. Anyway, I've got the frittata for dinner. It's just these, but in a bigger format. I'll have a picture on screen either now or after this of what it looks like. And other than that, thank you all so much for watching. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. If you want to do a little bit more, feel free. I would love it if you could hit that like or subscribe. Would really help out the channel. You can find me on social media. All those links are in the description. And I've been at this for a little bit. I've got a lot of other videos. Check them out. See if there's something you like. If there's something you'd like to know and don't see, leave it in the comments. Other than that, thanks again for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your time zone.